Welcome to a brand new spooky edition of How Did We Get Here? And tonight we have a really, really rad interview. We have Keef Cross. He's going to talk to us all about his one of a kind, just truly different, fun as hell take on vampires. And I'm just going to let him go ahead and get right into it. Keef, it's great to have you. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you guys for having me. Towards the end of the Kickstarter campaign, and I am so glad, I'm so glad funded, and I'm so glad I can kind of stop thinking about it, even though everybody's like, "Oh, keep going and do some stretch goals," and I'm just happy that I'm done and I got what I asked for. So, yeah, but I am trying. But since there's still days left, I'm still trying to do little, just a few things just to keep it active, and every little dollar counts, I guess. So, it's a good problem to have.
And this is issue 9 of Dayblack?
This is actually technically this is issue number 7.
7.
Because there's volume 1 and there's volume 2. Volume 1 is 1 through 3. Volume 2 is 4 through 6. So this one will be number 7. Even though it's technically a graphic novel, it's still a continuation.
Mm-hmm. So you have just about 4 days left to the campaign.
Yes.
So people, if you want to get in on this, which is a very cool book, we'll be running a little reel in a little bit just to give you guys a taste of what it's all about and visually what it looks like, because it's a stunning book, like very cool, it definitely stands out on its own when it comes to the aesthetic and the visuals. Yeah. So Johnny we have the link in the description below. And Johnny will be dropping the link in the chats as well for anyone who wants to go back this. If you're watching it live or catching it on the replay, the link will be there so you can have a quick shot over to the Kickstarter to back this thing. So this is the third part. The 2 other books, did you go through Kickstarter as well?
No, with the first 2, I was with a publisher at the time.
Okay.
So I didn't really have to worry about any of that. So yeah, this is my first time self-publishing and just kind of doing everything on my own. So yeah, definitely a completely different ball game doing it on your own,
Okay. Because I remember the first time I saw your art, you did a one-shot, or basically a short story in Newton Lilovus's Dream Fury Presents. It's a kind of a crossover between Dayblack and his Crescent City Monsters, and I was blown away. I was like, man, I cannot believe what I'm looking at. And when I saw that there was way more Dayblack to get into, I was utterly thrilled to just dive into this world, because I mean, we're not kidding. This is just such a visually striking book. I mean,
thank you, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, that book is a really big milestone for me, because at the time, I just got a kidney transplant. We were smack dab. I just got a kidney transplant, just parted ways with my publisher. We were smack dab in the middle of COVID. So I was healing and, still not sure of what was to come. My hands weren't working the same, and I just wasn't sure. Does my publisher, did he drop me because he didn't like me? Like, what's going on? So there was a lot of self-doubt going on. So when Newton reached out to me, first of all, because he heard me on a podcast talking, and he found out that I wasn't with the publisher no more, so he immediately called me to see if I would let him publish me. I didn't want to do it right away, just because right now, Dayblack, we were optioned by CBS for animated live action hybrid series. So
cool.
Yeah, the good thing that I had going for me was I wasn't attached to a publisher, and it was just all me. So I didn't want to just get back into a situation, because there were already so many in the pot at that point. I didn't want to add another one. So I told Newton I'm going to hold off on that. So he was like, okay, well, instead, you want to do this crossover with me? And I was like, yeah, but for me, it was a big deal, because at the time, like, Crescent City Monsters was like incredible. Like it was just amazing to me. So just the fact that somebody who has like one of the hottest indie books out just reached out to me, who hadn't put out a book probably since 2017, 2018, and still wanted me to participate, it was just a boost, like a jolt of confidence that I really needed, And I swear that helped my healing process, to just know that I had something to contribute. And I'm gonna get you. Don't you try, man. Don't you fucking cry. All right. So when he did that, it just let me know, I still had some juice left. And so, and another milestone about that book is, if you notice, the first volumes of Dayblack were black and white, just pretty much hand drawn, pen and ink. But when you see the crossover, you notice that it's more color, it's more gray shade, and it's a lot smoother. That's because while I was on bed rest, I taught myself how to draw digitally using Procreate on my iPad. And that's something before that I kind of scoffed at, being a traditional artist, like, oh, that's cheating, or oh, that's, But when I did it, it was literally like the difference between using a candle and flipping a light switch on, like, to get light, So it completely changed how I looked at creating. It completely changed my output. And so that book is really the testament. I'm looking at it because it's on my wall. That book is a testament, and really it marks a period in my life where I was at a crossroads and I kind of made the right choice of what path to go down. So thank you, Newton. I appreciate that, man.
Awesome. So I'd like to run, you sent me a few videos of like some reels you made. So I'd like to run that now to give people a little taste of what you're all about in your style, so people can get a little taste of the flavor,
Cool.
All right.
Roll it, Johnny.
And the book is just getting so good right now too. I am so excited to jump into this because, like, the lore has been laid out. You kind of know what's going on in the family situation, and damn, like, reparations is going to be a hell of an issue, man. I can't wait to dig into it.
Yeah, I can't wait for everybody to see it. It's cliche, but it's my best work yet.
Hey, I mean, I think we constantly learn and get better in life. Hopefully that's the way it goes. Otherwise, fuck, what's the point, right?
Yeah, basically, no matter what the public perception of it is, it's just like your favorite like artist or musician might come out and they're like, oh, this is my best work yet, even though they've had classics that you love, and you may not even love their new stuff, but they feel fulfilled artistically. Like, I feel that, like, it really doesn't matter if nobody else loves it. For me, it means I'm just over the moon about it,
And I really love the way that you played with the tropes in the mythology of vampirism. I really kind of like the way you flip that on its head, especially the way the faith system works in the monster world. I thought that was really clever, really fun.
Yeah, I just thought it was. I always thought about that. I was like, why? It's so presumptuous to just assume that somebody that's not a Christian, as a human, would be repelled by that cross. Like, it just assumed that. At the time when I wrote, like, keep in mind, I wrote this when I was like, I started writing this when I was probably 20, 21. I'm 46 now, so a lot of the things in that book, like, sometimes I want to retcon some stuff. Like, I don't even really feel like that anymore, but it's there, you know what I'm saying? And that's the character, even though the character is like 90% me. But even little things like that, like today, back then I was more like, I'm not a Christian. I'm totally against that. You know what I'm saying? I'm totally. I even flirted with being an atheist for a while. Not there anymore. But I'm at a point right now where I respect everybody's, religious preference. Like, a lot of the things I thought back then was just from ignorance. But now, as I get older, I definitely respect everybody. But back then, it was just more about. It was my defiance of religion in general, because I was going through that at the time. But it just made sense. Like, okay, if I was a Muslim, why would this repel me? So let me just switch. It's like, okay, Muslim symbols affect Muslims, Jewish symbols affect Jewish people, or whatever religion you practice. That was the symbol that repelled you as a vampire. And so, and it just really boiled down to, when you do vampires, it's been done to death so much, and it's so hard to really do something new that hasn't been done. I just tried to inject a little social commentary into it and just kind of switch it up a little bit, you know.
And the way our main character feeds, that is very devilishly ingenious. How long did you come up with that?
Man, I don't know. It's weird how it happens. It's just like all of your influences are just floating around in your brain, and then once you start to create something, they just kind of come out of the woodwork. I think me being a tattoo artist played a big role in it, and really just kind of living in that subculture, really even just being around people. Like, I remember I worked with a guy who lived like a vampire. Like, he had his teeth filed down in the front. He drank blood. He drank like pig blood. You know, it's like he would come to work with it and had it in a little thermos. He dressed like Twilight Black, like he was totally committed, you know. And he took me to a party one time, and keep in mind I'm young, you know, so I went, you know, I went to a vampire party with real vampires. Something I probably wouldn't do today, but I went, and I just saw these people living like they were really vampires, and you know, in a darkness, and it was every cliche of vampires you could think of, they were living it. And just being exposed to that subculture just kind of got my brain thinking about how these people could really, or how vampires could really exist in the real world. And but as far as his feeding method, you know, and I think in the book I attributed HIV to the reason why he used the machine to draw blood, because it was killing vampires off. And that's another thing that I wish I could kind of retcon, because when I wrote it, you know, HIV isn't what it is today. Like, it isn't today. It isn't the death sentence that we felt it was back there, that it was back then. So I've kind of written that out. I've kind of just letting that just kind of fade away a little bit, and I'm replacing it with just bloodborne diseases in general that they put in the bloodstream to try to kill vampires. Just make it a little less specific. But I will say the first book was a lot of me getting a lot of things that I felt off my chest, a lot of things that I didn't feel comfortable saying to people in my family or in my circle, just a way to get things off my chest without really being accountable for it. So that was just one of the things. That's how I viewed HIV. Like, I was scared to catch it. You know what I'm saying? Everybody, it was just, you know, a lot of misinformation going around too, but it was just living in that world. And yeah, so that's where that came from. And
but I mean, like, this is something we grew up with, because I'm 46 years old as well. And, you know, back in the 90s, I mean, kids probably don't understand today what it was. But back then, like you said, like, the medicine, and stuff wasn't quite as advanced as it is now, right? So now it's a totally manageable disease. But back then, like you said, it was pretty much borderline death sentence if you did contract it. So I don't think it necessarily should retcon it. I mean,
or maybe I should update it.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, like you know, because this is a vampire, so he's lived through many different time periods, right? So at one point, this was a reality for him, which maybe now today, like, you could even incorporate that into the story. Like, I remember back in the day when we had to worry about this, but now it is an issue, right? Yeah. So
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably what I'm going to do. You know, definitely.
And
yeah.
And it kind of educates people a little bit too about the history of the disease and stuff like that. If they go to look into it, like, what's this fool talking about? You don't die. You don't die. Right. Then when they go look into it, they're like, oh shit! At some point, you people were dying quite a bit from this, you know. So
it was just one of those things. And even him being a slave, you know, like, I didn't want to make it about slavery. Like, I didn't want to make another slavery story, even though I'm not one of those, you know, black people. A lot of black people have an issue, like, the time a slavery movie comes out, like, oh, not another slavery movie. Like, I'm like that to an extent, but at the same time, I don't feel like we should sweep over history or sweep over what our ancestors went through. I feel like to gripe and moan about it is to disrespect what they went through. So, but I knew at the same time, I didn't want to dwell in that space. I just wanted to use it as a backdrop, because I guess my first I guess my first log line for the book, or my first concept of Merce, would be I wanted to deliver a guy from one form of slavery to a new form of slavery, which was being addicted to blood, being, everlasting life. So I just wanted to use slavery just because everybody knows about it. It's a horror. So you already have that baggage going into it. So you know where he come from. That's all you need to know. We didn't need to see him getting whipped. We didn't need to see all that because we've seen it before. So I just wanted to take an instance and really, and the whole concept from that came from the movie Interview with a Vampire. When they were when they were feeding on the slaves at the plantation, and then the slaves revolted. Like, that's something I was like, oh, there's a story right there. So that's where the initial seed came from, that I just wanted to explore on that mythology.
I mean, it's a genre that's been, like, every decade, I think there's a resurgence at some point where, like, the vampire story takes center stage, whether it's cinema, comics, like we've had a lot of vampire books that have gained incredible amount of attention, like at Image with, like, let's say Philadelphia, or like there are books that come around, like 30 Days Tonight. We covered that the other weekend on our show. Love and that. I mean, I mean, like, so almost every decade you have a creator somewhere that really comes out and really tells a story that's poignant and grabs people. And like, after reading the first 2 volumes of this, like, I loved it. I think it's great. I think it's kind of definitely a new take, or an interest, or at least a very interesting variation on all the tropes and everything of the vampire story. And and I mean, visually, I just love your style, man. It's awesome. Thank you. Totally dig it. Yeah.
Well, also, I like the procession of issues. Like, there is a main thing going on, but it's almost like the things that happen are distractions to Merce as he's trying to find out why he can't sleep. All this other stuff keeps falling on him, and or he's sleeping too much, right? He can't sleep during the day, and he keeps falling asleep when he should be awake. Which, have you fell asleep doing a tattoo, by the way? I have to ask now that I know.
No, I've never done that, but there was a tattoo artist that I knew back in the day named Rhino, and Rhino was probably about maybe 400 pounds, huge guy. He had narcolepsy, and he would fall asleep in the middle of tattoos. So we didn't work together, but he was kind of like all the tattoo artists knew him, because people would always come in and they would have these tattoos that he started, and there would be a tattoo, and then you see where, like,
a line
like kind of just drifts off. And he would be like, just imagine a 400-pound guy with a needle turned on falling asleep against you. So when I heard that, I was like, this is crazy. So I jot down a lot of things. Like, even when clients would tell me things, I would just jot it down when they left. Like, that's writing it down. And that's how it really all started, with just me documenting all of this crazy stuff I would hear as an apprentice. Because being an apprentice, I was completely new to all of it. I was completely new to girls coming back, like beautiful women coming through and just like, hey, and just getting naked, and they want their whole body. Like, I'm new to all of this, so I'm a kid. I'm just like, think you got, what I'm saying? But of course, once you get over that, you become a professional, and you make sure they don't feel like you feel like that. I had to keep all of that inside, But it all just came with just being in a totally new. I'm totally sidetracked. I don't know what we were talking about anymore. You lost me.
Yeah, he asked you if you'd fallen asleep tattooing, and then we start talking about Rhino, and it's fine. This is what the show's about. This is why we call the show How'd We Get Here now. So, because we always go off on these crazy tangents, and then we're like, what were we talking about? How do we get here? Yeah, so it's fine, man. You just fell into our how do you call it? Our format. So it's perfect.
It is perfect for me. I do it all the time.
So was the Lucky Lucy story based in reality too? Did that kind of happen to somebody you know?
The what story?
The Lucky Lucy tattoo story in the book, when he's supposed to be tattooing Lucky on the dude.
Oh yeah, that absolutely happened. Yeah, that absolutely happened. And it happens a lot when you just one letter will misspell a whole word. I think I played up the drama like his girl wasn't there, but it happened. But he didn't notice it until he went home and his girl told him, and then he came back and was like, mad about it. But it was cool. I ended up fixing. I forgot what I did.
Okay, so that actually happened to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you Google it, you can find tons of tattoos, like people that made mistakes and stuff like that. Like if you Google it, there's like pages and pages. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
and
great.
the only saving grace about that was I was an apprentice. So whenever you're an apprentice, you tattoo people for free, basically, and people know that you're starting. So he was pissed, but at the same time, he knew what he signed up for. You know what I'm saying? So eventually, I think he came back years later. I might have covered it up or hooked him up with something.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, so.
That's
The thing about Merce, he's like 90% me. Only difference between me and Merce is I'm not a vampire. That's it.
Oh, so the thumbnail we made was pretty good then. Like
absolutely, that's perfect.
Mirrored, yeah, awesome. Yeah.
So you totally would adopt a kid because of the hateful look in his eye.
Well,
I love that story.
I don't know. I wouldn't, but I could see how Merce would. You know what I'm saying? It was just that commercial, and it was just. I guess he just sensed that, just something. He was like, man, like
that's a real one right there.
That's a real one right there, man. If only he knew, you know. But actually, that was going to be his saving grace that he adopted him. You know, Radamez is the king of the vampire hunters, and he's probably the only thing that's kept Merce alive for so long. It just kind of kept them off of his trail. And then it just goes to show, you know, you never know who you looking out for, you know, or who might return the favor, you know. So,
but that I enjoy that little storyline of the vampire and the vampire hunter kind of being friends, and like, well, actually, he takes him on as kind of like his son and stuff. So that's a really interesting storyline that I don't know where you're going to go with it, but I'm really interested to see kind of where that comes. Like, is there going to be a conflict later on? I'm anxious to see how that all shakes out.
Yeah, big time. Like Radamez, he's kind of been played to the side so far, just because, you know, I'm a new writer, you know what I'm saying, and I'm still kind of trying to figure it out and trying to see where everybody fits in, and just making sure my main characters don't kind of just become unimportant. But Radamez he plays a huge part in the final act. The final act is so big that I'm just intimidated to even start drawing it. But I got probably 2 more issues before I come to that. Like 2 more issues, and I feel like I'm gonna be done with the series, because I have a whole other book that I want to do, you know. So
okay,
but I got to finish it first, you know.
Yeah. So this was actually your first Kickstarter campaign, you were saying earlier.
Yes.
And how did you like it? Like the ups and downs. Like what were things you weren't expecting? Things you liked about crowdfunding your own book?
What I liked about Kickstarter is I think it's valuable because you can get your book funded. But I think one of the most important things, or one of the most valuable aspects of it, is the word of mouth that starts circulating because of the campaign. Because it's like I could get my books printed, but then, okay, I got books on my website. Who knows about it? There's no hype about it. People aren't talking about it for a month, you know. So I think just the word of mouth, and then the fact that I got the creator or the Projects We Love badge was also a big deal. So I think, but before that, it was always very daunting to me to do it, because I always looked at it like planning a party and you hope people show up for it. And I'd be so embarrassed if nobody came. You know what I'm saying? So
that's such a good analogy for a Kickstarter campaign. It is.
So long. And then all my colleagues would be like, "Man, you would smash that." Like, people would get this. I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I feel like I was like out of sight, out of mind for so long. People might not know or remember, and so I just did it, man. And I just did it, and it worked out. You know, I got funded, you know, with about, I think, maybe 15 days left initially, and that was a huge surprise, and I was so grateful for that. And I made a lot of mistakes as far as planning it and doing it. Like, it was so tedious just to wrap my head around just how to do it and how to like figure out the shipping and the logistics. And like, I was originally supposed to really launch this thing like in June, but I just kept putting it off and just like, all right, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get around to it. And then, you know, you just get hit with that existential thing. Like, man, tomorrow isn't promised. You know, like, you do you really want your last book? My biggest thing was I didn't want to die without people seeing where I left off, like seeing me in my prime artistically. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
That was
Yeah.
when I drive. That's kind of deep before it, but I'm really about leaving legacy behind. I'm really about just being remembered with the greats, like my favorites, like Ralph Bakshi and Vaughn Baudet and Harvey Picar and Wendy Richard Pini. Just all my favorite creators that I grew up reading that influenced me. Like I just want people to look back at me like that.
Cool. And you mentioned your website, which is
Dayblack.
Okay, Dayblack. Okay.
Dayblackcomic.com.
And is that
yeah.
And is that where you get this gorgeous ketchup box that you have? Look at that thing.
Exclusive on the Kickstarter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I may have it. I may offer it on the website. I'm not sure, but definitely, you can only get it in Kickstarter right now.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, that is something to hop on and back for. Look at that. That is just gorgeous production all the way around, dude. That box, like, oh man.
And what's really cool about that, the company that I use, they used it as a promotional piece for their website. So I'm like, that's cool. They didn't give me any. They were like, you give you a 10% discount. I'm like, oh, okay.
But it was cool because you posted a few things on Instagram, and I was like, oh man, that packaging, that is sweet. Like, I really appreciate those little touches like that, these design touches that creators put into their projects and stuff. And I mean, someone who backs the physical tier of this is going to get a beautiful, beautiful presented package that comes to them. Like, I mean, that box is beautiful with the hemoglobin and all that design on the outside. Do you have a shot of it closed, Johnny? Yeah, look at that. I mean,
that's a sexy box.
It is a sexy box, man. It's damn sexy.
About it looks good everywhere. Like I just leave it around my house. It just looks good. Like if you just have it out on your table, it's gonna look good,
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's perfect because for people that do back Kickstarters, you often get like bookmarks, stickers, stuff like that, right? So once you get this Dayblack, once you back this one, you could use that as your box that you put all your goodies in after,
Yeah. Stash box, Keep it keep it under the bed. Keep whatever you need in there,
Yeah.
It's
better than a shoebox.
Better than a shoebox,
You got 4 days left to hop on and try to grab one of those.
4 days left, man. Yeah, let's do it.
Is there a limited number on that, or is it however many people back it, you're going to make that many?
Yeah, it's whoever wants it. Yeah.
Okay.
Ain't limited.
Okay, so that's good. Also, you have catch-up tiers as part of your tiers on your campaign, so people don't have to worry about not being able to read the first 2 volumes because you could pick that right up on the Kickstarter.
Yes.
So you could get the entire story, all 3 volumes. You back this one. If you don't have 1 and 2, get all 3. You can get caught up on the story. You get that beautiful box. It comes in that box. I mean, this is probably the best looking Kickstarter I've ever seen.
Oh, thank
you,
man.
From start to finish. Like, I mean, the book is beautiful. Your packaging is fucking top notch, man. I mean, whew. You went for your first Kickstarter, man. I got to congratulate you, man. You went all out and you put together an amazing looking product.
Thank you, man. I'm all about presentation. I'm all about cool packaging. Like even the stuff I buy, I just want, I just want to give people something back. Like it sounds cliche, but the fans, man, they really are the ones that it becomes less about you. It becomes more about giving back to them since they read your stuff. They want to know what happens. And they're the ones that when I had self-doubt, they were still the ones like DMing me like, when's the next issue coming back? Or even people that are still just getting the book, like we love the book, like even stuff like that, it fuels us, So I just want to always make sure I give back, man. And also I love doing it. I love designing, I love making art. I love having one of a kind stuff, exclusive stuff. So yeah, I'm just glad everybody loves it. I worked hard on that. I worked hard on the website. I worked hard on the Kickstarter, the presentation. Like I wanted everything to be art. I wanted even my Kickstarter page. I wanted it to be art. I want everything to be art.
Yeah, and if people go visit your site, actually, if they scroll down to the bottom, they'll see you have a link for a Spotify link to
Yes.
go listen to a playlist you put together that inspired and to get the vibe of this book to really. So
Yeah.
you could have a soundtrack you could play while you're reading it, like a soundtrack to the
Yeah.
comics. So
Yeah, I have a on my Spotify. I have a playlist for every character, and I call them their theme songs. So it's like just a list of songs that I feel like represent them. But it's funny you say that because I'm currently talking with a producer. His name is Nagai, and he's a musician, and we are currently exploring the idea of releasing a vinyl to go along with this issue of original music. So we just started talking about that a week ago. I think he's on here now listening, but that's the next.
okay, yeah.
Yeah. So I just like exploring as many things as I could do. Like we shot a short film. I don't know if you saw the short film, but there's on the site.
I saw it. I didn't get to find I when I was digging through things I saw because IMDb had a thing, Dayblack, and I was like,
yeah.
The font was the same and everything. So then I started looking and I saw your name and I was like, oh shit, there's like a short film for it. But
Right.
I didn't get I was going through and I was trying to get as many images to put together the intro and stuff like that and other things. So I saw it there. It's on my, I just been so busy. I do, that's on my list of things to go watch this weekend for sure.
Quick, about 10 minutes, and that's something, I just wanted to explore it in every possible avenue I could. My wife is an actress, and she has an extensive pool of actor friends and directors. So I just was like, hey, let's shoot a movie. I wrote a script because originally, and a lot of people don't know this. Well, a lot of people do know this if they heard any of my interviews. But Dayblack was originally a script for a film that I wanted to direct because I wanted to be a filmmaker first. But when I went to art school, it was just too expensive. As this was when people were using film. You know what I'm saying? And trial and error was a lot more difficult, a lot more expensive than using digital. So once I kind of broke myself doing that, I was like, okay, well, let me just make this a comic and just treat it as a glorified storyboard for the chance when I do get to make a film. And I was just talking to my wife, and I was like, let's just make a movie because I know directors, actors, and then I got a script together. I sent it to people. Everybody loved it. Everybody did the movie pro bono, and it just happened. And even right now, me and my wife, I asked her a couple of days ago, we should do a play. Let's just do a play. Let's just do it, because I have a vision for an art show, an art exhibit, an interactive art exhibit that's going to be based off of Dayblack Reparations. So the plan is to get a gallery. We're going to have all the pages from the book blown up canvas size without any dialogue, just strictly images, because I feel like you could really look through the book and surmise what the story is without any words. So I want people to look at the artwork on the walls first, enjoy it, and there'll be little vignettes, like there may be an actor, like a small section of the room where an actor or Merce is reenacting getting bit in the cotton fields. There may be another vignette of him doing a tattoo, falling asleep. But we'll have on the walls, there'll be projections of cotton fields all around the building, like real cotton fields, wind blowing and everything. And but at the end, there'll be the comic books there for people to buy. Okay, this is the art exhibit. Now here's the book, so you can really see what you were looking at. So that's the goal. That's the end goal, which may even be a Kickstarter for that. Next year.
Yeah. Hey, that's cool. I like that idea, doing a play. That's
yeah.
A lot of people, you always hear them a movie this or a show. And then you're one of the first guys I've heard I'd like to do a play, turn this into a play. That's really cool, man. I like that. It's more local community based too, because you're probably going to do it somewhere where you'll have close access, physical close access, and that's cool, man.
The intimacy of it, it's just really being there, and just the intimacy of it. I remember when I went to go see Dave Chappelle, and whenever he does stand up, he always smokes a cigarette, and it's something you don't think about it, but just to be in a space, I'm inhaling his cigarette smoke. I'm inhaling Dave Chappelle's cigarette smoke. It's like a part of the performance. It's like almost being closer to him. You know what I'm saying? Just because you're, it's a weird, and I always like that. Always okay, if I did something interactive like that, and Merce was to light up a joint or something, which I could probably do now. You know what I'm saying? If I get the right venue. The people maybe not. I don't want to get
one thing you could do, because I think they had an Evil Dead play, and people in the first rows, they gave them like raincoats because they had blood like splatter on the audience. Like when people would do kills and stuff, they had, so like you're warned, right? If you get tickets in the first rows, you got to get ready to get sprayed with blood, right? So it's a vampire story, so you could have like you could have some real fun with this. Like, I mean,
when you're getting people out of the house, away from the TV, away from their screens, make it worth it. Like, give people something to, you know what I'm saying, like an experience, you know, something that they can't get at home, that they can't get on their phone, you know.
Especially when Bryce shows up, you could definitely do that splatter stuff.
Yeah, with the entrails and all that, man.
Jumping rope.
Like, you could just have it like poke holes and have it full, so every swing it just sends, you know, like,
And then everybody, I'm gonna have like IV bags filled with red wine with straws out of them.
That'd be awesome. Like a juice pack, you know, with the straws there. Yeah. That'd be awesome, man. Yeah, you could have a whole, like, at the bar, just drinks themed, like blood themed drinks, you know.
Yes. Probably would make sense to do it during Halloween. That'd be
man, I think you'd kill it if you put out a play around, like, especially October months, like September, October, leading into Halloween. You'd probably make a killing. Make a killing.
And that's the reason I did my Kickstarter during Halloween, just to
help.
Even though I didn't really play into it as much as I thought I was going to, but that was the reason behind it. So you already brought up the movie. I was going to bring that up because I didn't really get the time to watch it. But another thing, when I was reading the book, you have the was it the saggy bottom shooter, or what do you call him again? Baggy sniper.
The baggy sniper. I was like,
saggy sniper.
Okay, yeah. How many different ideas did you come up with for his name? Because you could have done the assassin. You could have done like, there's so many different iterations you could have done for his name.
If I'd have thought of that, that's what it would have been.
I was like, oh, he could have also done assassin.
Yeah, I know. And it was one of those things where I was struggling with it because I knew I wanted humor to be in the book. I didn't want it to be too silly. But then I was like, I'm having fun, you know, like, and it was just catching the saggy sniper. I was really envisioning what the news would have called him, you know, which is who really ends up giving him the name, is the news.
Yeah.
You know, they
probably couldn't say that on primetime television, right? So
right, exactly. Yeah, he was a lot of fun, man.
And I like the interaction too. Wait a minute. At first he's all pissed until he figures out who it is, and he's like, damn, I love your work, man.
Right. And even that was an opportunity for me to because I was at that point, I was just tired of seeing like man butt cleavage everywhere I went. Like, it was like everywhere. And I was like, okay, how can I inject this in my book without sounding preachy? So I came up with Kubrick, who was a belt owner, and he just was going out of business because nobody was buying his belts. So he went on a rampage. He didn't really have a problem with the sagging pants. He had a problem with people not buying his belts. So that was just a way for me to, you know, do what I wanted to do without being too preachy.
You know, I went on your site to check out what you had for merchandise and stuff. So you have a lot of cool stuff, t-shirts, prints and stuff. But you know what? I didn't see a belt buckle on there.
Yeah. Or a nice pair of boxers you could wear while you're back.
I know, right? Maybe I need to get some boxers with bullet holes in them. Blood stain.
Yeah, man. Like,
that story particularly took me back because I remember when I was in high school back in like '98, like they hated sagging, man. That was like all over the news. Like it was a big thing. I didn't know it still was one. So when I was reading this, I was cracking up because like I'm 40 something now, so I ain't paying attention to it. But when I read this, I was like, oh snap, that's still a thing, huh? Right on.
It's still a thing, and it was like, it wasn't just a normal sag. I'm talking about like the severe sag where the butt is like, the belt is like under the butt cuff.
Yeah, like how do your pants not fall down? Do they like put safety pins?
They have a belt on, but it's tight, just enough to be tight around the bottom of your butt.
And they legit walk around holding it like
and they hold it. And it's such a chore. It's like, and I got a picture of the guy holding the groceries and the kid
with the baby hanging from his arm.
Like everything. Like, your life would be so easy if you would just put your pants up, you have a whole free hand to do something. You know?
And you must always have to try to walk a little bit spread eagle too, right? To create that fucking pressure on that belt so it doesn't go. Yeah, you're waddling all over the place.
And I was like, dude, like, what are they thinking will happen if they pull him up? You know, it's just the ridicule, just the fear of the ridicule just has to be overwhelming for them. So, you know.
So, we were talking about tattooing quite a bit before because you did some tattooing. How old were you when you got into that, like as an apprentice and all that?
I was 20.
20?
I just got out of art school. I went to art school at the Columbus College of Art and Design in Columbus, Ohio. I dropped all my academic classes for 4 years. In my senior year, I had nothing but academic classes on my plate that I had to finish before I could graduate. Mm-hmm. So I packed my baby up and went home. And I was like, I think I'm done here. And when I got there, when I got back to Atlanta, I linked up with a guy and I started apprenticing the tattoo. So I just immediately started making money like hand over fist to the point where I was like, I never even tried to get a job at what I went to school for, which was like illustration or graphic design or something like that. Mm-hmm. So, and yeah, that whole lifestyle just kind of took over, you know, just tax-free money, even though back then I wish I was paying taxes because now I'm paying for it. But like back then I was just kind of getting paid under the table. But at the same time, I was still making art. So for me, it was a win-win. I was technically making money doing art, something my dad said would not happen. You know, it didn't happen for him. So it's like, it's not going to happen for you. Nobody's hiring artists. And to an extent, he was right because a lot of the people I went to school with like aren't doing art today, you know? So I'm grateful for tattooing that it still kept me creating every day. And it really made me a better artist. Well, I mean, it made me a better artist in the sense where, especially when it comes to like freelancing, a lot of the freelance work I would do later, because it's so much of translating other people's ideas and creating something and sometimes creating stuff out of really dumb ideas and making it something that isn't as dumb, you know? So yeah, I don't regret it. Well, and then, you know, 20 years later, you know, that was a long time to do anything. So around that time is when I kind of started getting the Jones and for doing tattoos or for doing comics. And yeah, and then it took over my passion, you know, and also the shop I was working in was kind of rough. So like our shop was getting shot up all the time, like to the point where my customers weren't even coming to the shop no more. They was like, you got to come to the house, you know? So I was like, it might be time to go ahead and bow out, man, you know? So
how many years did you do that for?
20 years. I was tattoo artist for 22 years.
20. So you just stopped recently then. Like it hasn't been that long.
I had to go on dialysis in 2019. So that I was still kind of trying to go to work, but I just didn't have the energy for it anymore after dialysis. So I was like, let me just go ahead and let this go. And man, that was a dark time, man. Just didn't know what was going to happen, you know? So I had to let that go. I was kind of relieved just because I didn't feel safe anymore up there. So I felt like it happened for a reason. And I feel like if that didn't happen, I still would have did it just because the money would have kept me there. You know what I'm saying? And so like everything, you know, I don't think if everything happens for a reason, but it felt like that happened for a reason, you know?
And the art style that you've developed for this book, like how long did it take you to develop that, or is it just kind of how you've always drawn? Because it's such an iconic look. It looks timeless. It looks like something that's always been there, but it's like a brand new thing that I've never seen before. Like how did you like develop this particular art style of yours?
Thank you. Man, that's a tough question. It's always been there. The only thing I can say is I refine it. And just tighten it up. But a lot of people say it looks like a lot of people tell me it looks like tattoo art, you know. I could definitely see that because
certain panels or certain sections of the book for sure.
Yeah. It's got a very folk style to it too, though.
That too, because a lot of people say it looked like wood burn or wood scratchings or something like that. And it's nothing that I do intentionally. I feel like it's something ancient and modern at the same time. I like to think it's kind of in between both, or that's what I try to do. I always try to keep it kind of grounded, but still modern. But yeah, as far as the style, I don't know, man. That's just how I'm wired, I guess.
Okay, so you've drawn like that forever and just kind of tightened it
not
up.
forever, not forever. I would say it developed in college, and I had a group of friends that I hung out with, and they were all amazing artists, you know, still sharp and still. So just to be around them, I wanted to stand out. And I just remember going when I was in college, everybody was like drawing anime. Everybody was drawing, probably to the point to where I don't really like anime today, because that's all everybody was drawing. And it was, anytime anybody is doing the same thing, I'm automatically turned off from it. So I just wanted to do something that was completely different. My biggest influences were ElfQuest, like I said, Ralph Bakshi, Fritz the Cat, Street Fight, all of that stuff, Robert Crumb stuff, just a lot of raunchy 70s underground comic stuff. A lot of that stuff was what I was drawn to at an early age, because my dad was a strip club owner. So when I was a kid, I kind of grew up in a strip club, and I always, not literally during business hours, but I was always around it, and I was always kind of in that element. And my dad was always kind of in that element where it was kind of in the, I don't want to say the underbelly of society, but definitely adjacent to that. Like I probably saw a lot of things I shouldn't have saw at a young age, experienced a lot of things I shouldn't have experienced, but it guided my aesthetic, the type of media I like to consume. Like a big Tarantino fan. I think when Pulp Fiction came out, that's when I wanted to be a filmmaker. That's when I started looking at movies as being more than just movies, you know what I'm saying, as being films, you know. And how did we get here? How did I get here?
Talking about developing your beautiful art style, which is incredible.
And I think and another thing, my illustrations, like the stuff you see in Dayblack, like it's very graphic, very black and white, very bold and striking. But like when I do, like say for instance, like my fine art is like real colorful and real loose, as in contrast. So I think that's just because when I do illustrations, I kind of just zone. I'm focused on the art. Like I'm just focused, razor focused. When I paint, I'm thinking about my life. I'm thinking about, like, I'm listening to music. It's a lot more freer. It's a lot more therapeutic. So yeah, illustration is more like work, but in a great way. Painting is more just like recreation, but with the intention of selling. I don't know. Yeah.
You brought up your father, and you said he was an artist at one point in his life. And so, what did he do? What kind of artist? What did he make?
Well, he was a graphic designer. And
okay.
He went to school for graphic design, got out of it, couldn't get a job. So when he found out that I wanted to be an artist, he wasn't feeling it. So he took me to my college orientation. And they gave us a tour of the school. They showed us all the different classrooms, all the different classes, and all this amazing art and all my course load and everything. So at the end, it was just me, him, and the counselor. And he was like, so basically, you're just going to be showing him a bunch of stuff he's not going to be able to make money off of in real life. And I was like, damn, like, chill, you know. But he was right to an extent. I mean, he wasn't right, but I could see where he got that, because he was applying it to himself. You know, it's just like with, you know, like elders, they know things, you know, and you could definitely learn from them, but at the same time, you can't just apply what happened to them to your life. You know what I'm saying? So it was a different time, you know, when he tried to do it, you know.
I find that
he wasn't feeling.
Yeah, I find that such an interesting dynamic, right? Because often, like, kids get influenced by their parents. Like, your dad was an artist, so ultimately, like, you'd be like, that led you to be an artist. But in a way, he's like, don't follow that path, right? So where did it, you know what I mean?
Well, because my grandfather was also an artist. My mother's father, and he was he was a true artist. He was a painter. Like
Okay.
I think my dad was more creative with designs and stuff like that. But I don't know. I never saw him really draw anything.
Okay.
But it was just like he also went to Vietnam. He never talked about Vietnam. He never talked about art school. So I was like,
Okay.
something bad happened both places. Okay, I'm just leave that alone.
Yeah.
But my grandfather, he was a full-on artist, and he was actually the person responsible for me actually drawing, because I would say I was probably like maybe 11 or 12 years old, and I would just trace everything. Like I would trace comic books, I would trace anything, and I would tell people I drew it. I did. I was in middle school, and I just wanted to be able to draw, and I was doing it. Once I was tracing something, I was laying on the floor in front of my grandfather. He was in a lazy boy chair. I was like by his feet, tracing this X-Men comic. And then he looked down and he was like, why don't you just try to draw it? And I was like, I never tried it. I just never tried to do it before. So I put the paper down. I got a real piece of paper. I sat at the table. I looked at the picture and I started drawing. And I was like, oh shit, I'm drawing this shit and it's not looking bad. You know what I'm saying? And I just never could try to do it. You know what I'm saying? Because I was so interested in being good initially that I didn't even conceive that I would have to, or that I would even have the talent, you know. So that was a huge eye opener for me. And my grandfather's like me and my dad didn't get along great, but me and my grandfather was like, you know, like that.
Tight.
So he was super proud of me. He was super supportive in every way. So yeah.
Usually there's a nurturing aspect somewhere in there. That's why I was trying to find where that seed came from, right? I didn't know if it was your dad and then just eventually, but your grandfather. Speaking of your grandfather, you said he did a lot of paintings. Do you have any of his work that you over the years you managed? Yeah.
I don't, and I wish I had, because he would paint on he would just paint on little postcards. He would paint these little like Bob Ross stuff, like nature, you know, stuff like that. But it's nothing that he would ever keep. He would just paint it and you would never see it again. He would just like to sit, smoke a joint, and just paint. And then just paint, and I never knew what he did with all the paintings. I don't even really think he kept them. So it was just really a hobby. He never really, and you know, he came from a time where you didn't really think about being you know, really making a living doing art. So it was really just
a professional artist. Yeah.
You didn't think about it, unless it was an architect or something like that.
Yeah, but I was just curious because when you're younger too, you don't really think of those things like for later on. As an adult, you're like, man, I'd love to have just one of those paintings, you know, and hang it on the wall. When you're young, you're not thinking of that. You're thinking like, you know, so.
Didn't think of it at all. I didn't think of it at all. Like when I was a kid, I didn't think of him drawing. I was like, oh, he's just drawing again. And who knew like I would be like an artist later on. Like it was a trip. And it even goes back to when I went to art school, there was a comic book class that I took. Didn't want to do comics at the time, but it was a part of my course load. So I'm like, I'm going to take this class. So I didn't pay attention in it. I didn't take it seriously. I passed it, of course, but I didn't. It's not what I wanted to do, so I didn't take it seriously. So it was just ironic that years later, when I wanted to do it, I couldn't remember anything from the class. Like I couldn't remember anything. So I was like, all right, I don't remember nothing, but I'm just going to do it how I want to do it. And that's that's the great thing, because a lot of people say that's the thing about it. It makes it unique because it's not a standard looking comic. And that's why. It's because I didn't pay attention. Now, if I paid attention, who knows? Would it have been better? Would it have been worse? I don't know. But you know, it is what it is.
Turned out pretty good as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Johnny, did you have any other questions for Keith?
You said that you're going to be finishing up the Dayblack. I was wondering if you were going to wrap it up for good, or if you're just going to kind of put a pin in it for now and maybe revisit it later.
I'm going to wrap it up for good. If I have other people work on it, that's another issue. You know what I'm saying? But I have another story that I've been burning to do. Like, it's just like, you just have all these different stories, but you got to finish the one you have. But the cool thing about my next story is that it's a comic book that Merce reads. So I have a comic book that Merce reads in the book that I'm going to spin off into a comic book separately about this samurai that hunts mermaids. Awesome. Well, just going off of the walrus scene with Rodma's, man, like
I can't wait to see you do more aquatic horror. That was pretty awesome.
I like how that sounds, man.
So this next volume, that's volume 3. How many more? You said 2 more volumes to wrap the whole story up, or?
Yeah, 2 more, or at least 2 more issues. I think I'm gonna have this current one will probably get compiled with the next 2 issues. So maybe, or maybe I think when I'm done, I'm probably just gonna do an omnibus. Is that how you say it? Omnibus?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. So this one and 2 more issues will wrap up the story for Dayblack.
I'll say 2 to 3.
2 to 3? Yeah. All right, cool. So we're more than halfway through his story then, because now we're getting into the nitty gritty. Then things are going to start ramping up, heating up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. When we get the motivations behind his mother and why she bit him in the cotton fields, why he ran, we're going to see why he ran away and never came back. Like when he got bit, he literally ran and never looked back. He never said bye to his family, to his brother, to his mother. He just really just took off. When he found out when he felt how powerful he was, he literally fled the plantation. And in the upcoming issues, we're going to see him. It's going to be like some scenes, kind of like in Forrest Gump, where you would see Forrest Gump injected into parts of history. Like I have a scene where at one time Merce was in the band with Jimi Hendrix, and Jimi Hendrix stole the burning guitar I did from him. Or he's going to be, he was like on the moon landing. This is stuff like that, like stuff that he was in history. So we see that he lived a long life, and he's just kind of settling in on doing tattoos. So I'm going to expound on that. Also, there's going to be a scene where I don't know if y'all are familiar with Nat Turner. So Nat Turner was a slave, but he ended up massacring a bunch of his slave masters and starting a slave revolt. Okay. So I have a scene where I have a little portion of the story where Merce actually slaughters a bunch of slave masters, but Nat Turner takes credit for a lot of it, but he was like, okay. Just having fun, kind of like how Tarantino likes to kind of twist history, just stuff like that. Just having fun with it.
Yeah, it's cool because you kind of hint that through time, Merce has done a lot of different things. So it's just a natural progression where you go into more detail of all the different things he's done, because you hint at it a little bit in that first volume, like all the different professions he's tried and this and that. So it'll be cool. Yeah.
You also get into why he has all these professions and why you don't see him ever with any other vampires. Like there's a reason he craves to do these things. There's a reason that he's looking for fulfillment out of this life. Like normal vampires don't care about this stuff, but he wants to live by himself. He doesn't want to be around other vampires. He found this town, this little piece of heaven that he could walk around day or night. He doesn't want them to know about it. So there's a reason for all of that, because he's not just your typical vampire. He's not like Louis from Interview with a Vampire. He's not like but he is in the sense with his reluctancy, but it's a reason. It's not just because he has a bleeding heart. It's a physiological reason for why he's like that, so we'll find all that out too.
And I love his principles. Like, I don't kill. God damn it, I'm gonna have to kill these fucking people, aren't I?
Right. He tries, but if he has a reason to, he loves to. He can't wait to,
Yeah.
Well, survival is king, right? So absolutely. If you compromise that, well then it's like that one scene. He's like, I don't want to, but I don't have a choice.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
Yeah. Man,
I will say this, guys, and I really appreciate that both of you guys read the book, because I really hate doing interviews or podcasts and they haven't read the book, and it's just kind of like general questions. Like it really is great when the person interviewed you has actually read your stuff. Like I just appreciate that. That's great. It just makes it a whole different experience,
Oh yeah, we're big believers in that. It's you can't do an interview unless you know what you're talking about. Like you said, it just becomes fluff, right?
Yeah, so, if they don't know anything about it, it's like you just feel like content,
I can tell you this for nothing, man. I am not the biggest fan of vampires. Like you said, they've been done to death. I kind of roll my eyes. I have read quite a few of the because there's so many vampire books, but like I have to say that this is the most fun, enthralling, interesting take that I've seen. The art style is one thing, but I like the mythology that you've made up. I like the town of Dayblack. I think that that's really great that the town even has its own lore, and yeah, I think that it's really fun what you've done with the vampire fiction. And you didn't do too much to it, but you did enough to just knock it on its ass and completely make it your own. And I think that that's the number one reason why everybody should just check this book out. Back to Kickstarter or go on the website and get the volumes there, because this is something that everybody needs to check out. This is a really cool new voice in vampire fiction, and I think it could be a positive influence in the medium and maybe bring some anima back to it, in my opinion, because I think it's kind of gotten a little stale, and I think this is the kick in the ass it might actually be if it got like the eyes on it that it required. If it got like a Fantagraphics published edition, which I think is exactly where the book belongs, in my opinion.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate that.
And that's the type of prestige this book kind of has to it. Like, go into it reading it, like think of it as like you're reading a Fantagraphics joint. And
I love Fantagraphics. A lot of their stuff was huge influences too, and even like when people say stuff like what you just said, like of course people like the art, and I always consider myself to be an artist first. But like when I first got serious about making it a book, like I went through like 3 or 4 different writers to try to get somebody to write it for me. None of them worked out because the character is so much me. It's like having somebody else write you. It's like it just never worked out. So I had to do it myself. And then when I first put it out, I won a Glyph Award. Glyph is like an independent comics award. I won a Glyph Award for Best Writer, like my first time out the gate. And I was like, damn. So I was like, okay, so I need to nurture my writing just as much as I'm nurturing the artwork, So when I hear stuff, when people tell me they like the story and the concept, like I love that, it just encourages me to keep going.
Well, I mean, like, I love when writers are able to do what you're able to do. Like, you flush the character out right away, and you don't even have to, like, we are barely learning about a lot of stuff that, like, some people would dump a lot of exposition and stuff. We're kind of really learning the backstory of the character now, but at the same time, you don't mind because you're already so at home with the guy. You know what I mean? You really feel immersed and you enjoy his company at this point. So where you're like,
cool guy, man.
You're just like, man, I'm just learning his backstory now, but that don't matter. Like, I love.
Well, because I also think you put him in a position that everyone kind of knows immerse, right? Like, if you're into tattoos, a guy that, oh man, this sounds just like my buddy, whatever, So you create that familiarity with just the type of situation where you put him in. Like, I won't say blue collar, but I mean, it connects with a lot of people, right? So
he's the old guy with the stories, man. Everybody knows the old guy with the stories, but like he's also the old guy with the stories that can rip your throat out and your heart.
Yeah. Like how many vampires that have jobs, like running a business, ordering supplies and stuff,
Yeah. Like living his everyday, doing the everyday grind, like the rest of us. So he becomes so much more relatable.
Absolutely.
And it was the neat little things you threw in, like him liking to eat. Like he can't actually eat it, but he likes the feel of it in his mouth and stuff.
Yeah.
Spit it out. Yeah. Just anything or playing or beating the drum to mimic his heartbeat. He's chasing after that human feeling, which is no, vampires do not do this. So vampires will see him and be like, "The fuck is wrong with him? Like, he's weird." Like,
that's it.
So he's definitely a outlier in the community.
I've seen you post a few things. You've been to shows or conventions in the last little while. Do you have anything coming up that you'd want to plug for conventions or shows? Or
yeah, absolutely. In December, I'll be at San Diego Comic-Con.
Oh shit!
I won't be there for Dayblack. I actually, I'm working with Tyra Banks on a graphic novel that I'm illustrating. Based off of her. She has a ice cream company that she is trying to make a whole universe around, and it's called Dream Smize, or it's a tentative name, but Smize and Dream. Her copyright word is like Smize. So it's like ice cream kind of Willy Wonka, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory type comic book that we're currently working on. So in December at Comic-Con, we're going to be there kind of just giving a sneak preview. And just kind of telling people that it's coming soon. But I've been working on that for the past 6 months with her. So that's probably the biggest deal. Hopefully I can have a couple copies of Dayblack like in the corner, like, hey, I got this.
Hey. Yeah. Awesome.
But next year I'll be also in LA again for Black Comics Day. And yeah, up until then, yeah, and that's the thing. The Kickstarter, part of its function is to allow me to get enough copies of books so I could do these events, So I've been peddling volume 1 and 2 for so long. Like, I know people are like, bro, is this dude gonna do another book, or are we gonna see these same 2 books? So I'm just so excited to finally have something new for people,
Yeah. So you can actually keep that the convention run going, doing shows and stuff. Yeah,
absolutely. Even though there's plenty of people that don't have it, it's still
especially like you said, building a base, right? I mean, you got to get out there and hustle and build your readership and your following. So you want to plug your socials where people can find you on social media?
Yes, Instagram, Keef Cross Art. You might see a Keef Cross, but that one was hacked. I don't have access to it anymore. So Keef Cross Art is the main one. KEEF. Well, you see it. Yeah, Keef Cross Art. And website dayblackcomic.com. Facebook Keef Cross. TikTok Keef Cross. Just I hate to say Google me, but if you Google Keef Cross, all this stuff will pop up.
I found you on Twitter. So is that one hacked, or is that actually you?
That one is me. I just don't use it.
Okay. All right.
But it's me. It's me. But don't message me or not there. I probably
Okay.
won't.
Okay. Because I saw it, so I was like, when I posted stuff, I just tagged you in it just so. But I didn't. Okay, I wasn't sure. Yeah, I wasn't sure. Okay. So Twitter's dead anyway. So.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't like Twitter because I'm more of a visual person, and Twitter's more talking and yapping. I'm not really
I made the transition a while back too. I was like, man, Instagram's so much better.
Yeah,
it's about the content, right? It's not about, I don't know.
Even though that algorithm is a trip, man. It's like if you don't engage with people, you're basically invisible. So you got to keep from what I hear something different from everybody. You got to do this, and you can't post between 3 and 7, or if you do this, you got to, so who knows, man? Like, I feel like I probably would have got funded sooner if because of the algorithm, at least on Facebook. Because it was like, and another funny thing is, I was posting on Facebook, right? Like and keep in mind, I'm posting all new artwork. Like, I haven't been posting anything since I've been working on this new book. I've just been kind of stockpiling stuff for this moment. And so I'm posting stuff, and I'm not getting any interaction. Normally when I post artwork, everybody's like, oh, that's gorgeous. Oh, that's dope. Nobody is saying nothing. And my theory is it's because I had the Kickstarter attached to the images. So I feel like it's just like when you're at a convention, right? And you're sitting at a table. People don't want to make eye contact with you because they feel like they'll be obligated to come talk to you or buy something. I kind of feel like it's the same on social media. Like, nobody wanted to say anything because they don't want me to see them. Like, I see you. You're not going to back my campaign today. So it was kind of bittersweet. I was like, man, nobody's liking. I love these bitches, and nobody's saying anything because they don't want to be seen.
Avoiding the salesman type thing. Yeah.
And I made a post the other day. I was like, look, commenting does not make you obligated to donate. Okay, tell me I'm pretty. Just tell me I'm pretty. Tell me, okay,
I need some validation.
Yeah, I'm killing me over here.
Yeah, motherfuckers.
Yeah, goddammit. I didn't get my curses in. Yeah, shit, damn, motherfucker.
Just how hard is it to get a fucking thumbs up, yo? Yeah, man. But yeah. Awesome book. Looking forward to the new volume, the new story. Congrats on backing. There's still 4 days left to back this puppy on Kickstarter. So, like we said earlier, the description has a link, and the chats, or actually, if you're watching on YouTube, it's below as well. In the chats, Johnny dropped the link for the Kickstarter as well. So go back this book.
Depends on how you're watching. If you're watching on your phone, it's below the video. If you're watching on a computer, it's where Joe was pointing to the right.
That side?
Yeah.
That side. Yeah. I'm married, so I always screw it up. Like, oh, that way. All right, man. So, Johnny, do you have any closing questions or remarks, man?
Did you ever tattoo the top of somebody's head?
I have, and
You
it
have.
is the most awkward and it is the most uncomfortable feeling because the top of the skull you would think is just hard, but it really has a lot of like pockets where like you can feel the needle going across. It feels like going across the bone, but then you'll go areas where it doesn't feel anything, so it just feel like the needle is just kind of floating in the skin.
A soft spot.
Yeah, had a lot of soft spots. So it was really, really weird. But one thing I can say that anytime I've tattooed anybody on the head, they can always take it. Like I've never tattooed someone on the head that couldn't take it.
So you never had a homeboy pass out like in the comic?
No, not from the head. And I'm just like, you have to be. I guess you're just mentally ready to go there if you're going to do it. Like I've never had nobody have any issues on the head, and you would think they would, but no. You got to be crazy enough to take it, if you're going to do that. I'm talking about like the whole head,
Because the tattoo parlor scenes in the book are just hilarious, and the top of the head tattoo scene was pretty hilarious. Probably one of my
favorites. Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yep.
What's like one of the craziest stories from your tattooing days?
Man, there's so many. I had this one guy, and this was actually a piercing. I was also pierced.
Okay.
Big muscle guy. Like he wanted to get his nipple pierced, and I was like, all right, cool. So we're sitting down there. I'm sitting in front of him. He's got his shirt off, swole, like big dude. And he was like, look, man, I'm just gonna tell you right now, if I swing on you, when this needle go through, don't take it personal, but I might swing on you. So I'm like, all right. So I called. So he had a guy with him, and I asked this guy to come in. I was like, yo, can you hold him? Like, because if he hits me and I do this wrong, I could cut his whole nipple off. You know what I'm saying? So, plus I don't want to get hit in the face by this big dude, like above your nipple, like damn your nipple. Don't punch me. So, and he sure enough tried to. His buddy was like, oh, he just kind of held him, and I got it done. But that's one crazy story. I had another crazy story where this black guy wanted to come in. He wanted to get a swastika tattooed on him, just because, and all of his tattoos were Grim Reaper, just death, devil, Lucifer, like everything was evil. He was just like, I've done everything evil. I can't think of anything else evil to do other than this symbol. So this completes everything if I get this. I'm like, all right, man, but I'm not doing it, so I found somebody else to do it. And just because, I'm good. I didn't really have to do it. I don't need that today. And and I've had all kinds of, I've had a girl, and these are the type of people that Merce would kill. Like, I've had pimps bring in their hoes to get their names tattooed on them. Like, I had this one guy who brought his one girl in. And
so, like, branding them, basically.
Yeah. And I think I do that in the book. I say something about maybe. But anyway, yeah, she had his first middle name, like, everywhere, like, at least 20, 30 times everywhere on her body. First, middle, last name, chest, arm, back, lower back, legs. That's the only tattoo she got. He didn't have her name one time anywhere. And it's like one of those times, and I did like maybe 5 of those tattoos, And it's just one of those things where morally you're like, damn, like, what am I really doing here? But it's like, what can I do? Like, he's not holding a gun to her head, and she seemed happy about it. So, I learned one thing, because you get so many dumb ideas from people, but if I talk people out of every idea that I thought was dumb, I wouldn't make any money.
Yeah.
So this comes to a point where if you're over 18, look, and if you're not getting a swastika, let's do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the question should be asked, like, did you do any tattoos you actually enjoyed?
Yeah, many. More than I didn't. Like, at a time, it was really my passion. Like, I was really. But I'll tell you this: when social media became a thing, particularly Instagram, I began to see other artists around the world and other artists even in Atlanta. And when I really saw what other people were doing, I realized that I was a big fish in a small pond. And I realized that the guy that I apprenticed under wasn't a great tattoo artist. He just taught me what he knew. So I was always limited, but I was the best artist in my shop. But once I was exposed to other artists, it really fucked with me. I was like, fuck, I'm like I'm not nowhere near this good. And I didn't even know these guys exist or were even in my town. So that was another chip away at me wanting to quit, because I'm like, if I can't be the best or even be in the conversation, I don't want to do it no more. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll just do this comic book. So that was definitely a blow to my ego, but for a good thing, because I feel like Dayblack wouldn't exist if I didn't do tattoos. I feel like me doing tattoos was a direct responsible for Dayblack even existing. So I was never meant to be the best at it. I was meant to be good enough and have enough experiences drawn from it to produce this book. You know. So yeah, tons of tattoos I enjoy. Most of the tattoos I love are the ones that are my own creations, that are custom and not stuff that people just got off of Google or got off the wall. So anybody lets me come up with something that sometimes people come in, they just like, I don't care. I just need to feel that pain. Or some girl might come in mad and they just, it's like when people cut themselves, you know what I'm saying? Some people come in there just for that distraction from other pain that they're feeling. So they might not even care what they're getting, you know? So a lot of times I'm able to just do what I feel like doing that day, you know?
Nice. Well, I mean, definitely, like you said, it definitely supplied you with a lot of ideas, influence. You know, like a lot of people say, you can't be an artist unless you've experienced life. So, I mean,
exactly.
Yeah. So get out there, people. Live your lives. Don't just sit at home scrolling through Instagram and this and that. Get out there and do something. Whether you do it well or not well, it doesn't matter. As long as you're experiencing it, it'll translate into something at one point later on down the road. So, yeah.
Yeah, and most importantly, don't judge yourself based on what everybody else is doing. My theory or my thing that I live by is I always know that there's always somebody out there better than me at what I do. So when you realize that, it's really liberating to really just do what you do best. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, like I don't feel like I'm the best, but I feel like when I'm at my best, nobody fuck with me. You know what I'm saying? I feel like when I'm at my best, may not be the best, but when I'm at my best, I feel like I'm unstoppable. You know?
Nice. Yeah, and I think that's great advice for people.
Yeah.
You know?
Just because a lot of people grew up in the time. Is it time to wrap up? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, man. No, we could keep going. Yeah.
I'm just saying, I feel bad for the generation that really came up with social media, because that's really so much of their validation. You know, I'm just glad I came up in a time where it was people around me, and it was just knowing like who told me that I was good, or I just learned from just one-on-one experiences. I didn't, and that's another reason, like even when I was talking earlier about people not liking my stuff and I was feeling bad, like that's the reason why I stockpiled my artwork, because I started getting to a point where I was creating just to post. I was staying up all night working on this paint, like, oh, they're gonna love this tomorrow when I post it, and nothing. It's like dropping a brick in the ocean, you know what I'm saying? And that, it was fucking with me. I was like, what the fuck? So I'm just glad I had that all those years with no social media to know what my worth was. But a lot of kids, like my daughter, she's 22 and she's an artist, and she would come crying to me because she would post some work and she wouldn't get any likes from it, so she really didn't feel like she was good. And I was like, damn. Like, really? Like, that's what it takes for you to really feel like you're good, is people clicking a button, you know? So, so grateful we kind of missed that, you know?
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, for sure. Totally. That's the thing. I think younger generations just, they don't get it. Like, you know, it's hard for them to grasp. And I think that way, you, like, not to be the old man, you know, that's preaching or this or that, but I found when you found your people, right, and it created a much tighter community, because I wasn't like Johnny, you know, he lives in the States in Oklahoma and I'm in Canada, right? So we're friends, but back in the 90s, like, your friends were people in your town, in your, like, it was such a tight community, right? And actual, it's just a whole nother experience when you can actually interact with that person in person and stuff. It's fun. Like, I love social media for being able to reach out to people and talk to you or other people. It's amazing. Like, I totally love it. But it's not the same as when, you know, you go out with a friend or collaborate together and you're in a room together, and it's a total different experience. And
absolutely. And you're even and even stuff you thought was like unanimous. Like you thought, oh man, E.T. is the greatest movie when I love E.T. But you get on social media like, E.T. always sucked. It's just like there's no such thing as unanimous. That's one thing about social media. There's no such thing as unanimous anymore.
No.
Like anything you thought was like, there's no doubt everybody loves this. There's people like, I've always hated that. And it's like, damn.
Well, it's the trolls. There's always trolls out there, man.
Yeah, it's always.
On top of that, like a lot of the most creative and most talented and artistic people I know, like they probably would not be, pulled out of the general, by the general audience and seen as, because their art styles aren't seen as very photorealistic, or like especially in comic books, some of the best, most appreciated artists are known for being wild and experimental and stuff. And I think like if they depended in their time on social media, I don't think we'd have Bill Sinkovich or Ben Temple Smith, or like a lot of those guys that are just have those really wild, loose styles. I think that they'd have probably gotten beaten down if they, or if they relied on, social media, like that type of gratification to be like for validation.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, man.
Yeah. So, Johnny, man, anything else you wanted to touch on? On your checklist?
I pretty much covered it all. Like I said, man, like go
all right,
check this book out. It's just vivid. It's wonderful. It's breath of fresh air and vampire fiction. It's real good POC comic period. And I can't recommend it highly enough. I had a total blast with it. It's got a great sense of humor. Like some of the stories, especially one involving a ambulance driver, like lots of good fun to be had in this book. So you want to check this out, get on this, and definitely check out Keef, man. Like he is very interesting, and I can't wait to see what he does in the future. Like,
thank you. Fun fact: the ambulance driver was based off of Nicolas Cage and Bringing Out the Dead.
Okay. I got those vibes when I was reading it, kind of. Yeah. So now that you say it, yeah, that's cool, man.
It's so grim, but it's so funny, man. I couldn't help it.
Yeah. It's crazy, right?
Yeah. So, man, wanted to thank you again, Keith, for sitting down with us and chatting. It was a blast. Love it. People go back to Kickstarter. You still have 4 days left. It's funded. So this book, you'll be getting it. You're going to be getting it in your hands if you go back it. You have that beautiful box that Keith put together. Beautiful design for that box that you'll get when you back
just so Kickstarter. Just so people know, not to cut you off, I'm sorry. The box comes with Volume 1, Volume 2 print copies, the new issue, Dayblack Reparations, with the variant covers. It also comes with an exclusive variant cover that only people that get the box will get. 2 packs of stickers, 2 art prints, and I'm thinking about throwing in I'm working with a winery now to try to get a little bottle of red wine in each box with a little Dayblack label. So I'm working on that. I'm not announcing it until I know it's a done deal, but you're going to get tons of stuff and probably some extra stuff just because I'm funded, so I'm going to throw some more stuff in there.
Freaking get some gummies made like the red blood cells, like in a shape like that with a little divot, a bunch of little gummies. Oh, that'd be awesome, man. That'd be so cool.
And put them in the IV bags, because the IV bags, they sell them on Amazon. That's where I saw them. I was like,
oh yeah, okay,
yeah. I was like, that would be perfect. Let me see if I can find that when I get off the truck.
Damn, yeah. Oh man.
How far are you along? Being done with the book? It's pretty done. Like from the video we showed, like there's a lot of new art that.
Yeah, I just need to get it lettered. That's it. I'm getting it lettered, and I need to get it edited. Getting the script edited, lettering, and printed, and that's it. So I didn't want to do the Kickstarter until it was like 90%, 95% done.
That's the best policy, man. Yeah. Like most people we have on that have the book complete before going into Kickstarter. I mean, the turnaround's a little better. I think backers appreciate that. Like knowing that they're backing a book that's already complete, and so they won't have to wait. Because sometimes, wait 2 years for a Kickstarter. Like talk to so many people. They're like, "Oh shit, I even forgot. Like, I completely forgot I backed this." You know, like,
Exactly.
and the hype's gone when you get it. Like, you're excited, but you're like, you know, the hype's kind of died down. You're like, "Oh yeah, I backed this." You know, it's kind of, yeah,
right.
yeah. So yeah, man. So I just want to say good luck on your future endeavors with possibly the animated series and stuff like that you have in the works, with your San Diego Comic-Con book that you've been working on with Tyra Banks. Yeah. So man, I wish you all the best of luck. Hopefully you'll get a nice little boost. I know the last 48 hours on Kickstarter, usually you get a nice little jolt there right at the end. So you should get a nice little uptick there when there's 48 hours left. So yeah, man, once again, thanks for coming on. You're a great guest, and man, love to have you back anytime.
And I will come back anytime. This is easily top 5 interviews I've had, man. I apprate it. Y'all have been great.
Man,
great
thank you.
Great interview.
Thank you.
If not my favorite, you know.
All right.
Yeah, man.
So on Monday, we're going to be on Phono with Elle. We're going to be talking about the Five Nights at Freddy's movie and Saw 10. We might dual broadcast that. We might do that on our channel too. I'm not sure. I'll talk.
Yeah, it's going to be a crossover. It'll be broadcast on both channels.
Okay, so yeah, we're going to be doing that again. That should be fun. Like, I haven't seen a Saw movie since the Chris Rock one, so it's been a couple years. Not too long, but.
Well, I mean, there's 10 of them, right? So they come out with them every
more than that,
years.
because there's Circle and Spiral too. This is 10 of the official Saw, and then they got the 2 spin-off. A couple.
Okay.
And then Jigsaw, I think they got a bunch of them shit movies, man.
Yeah. So it'll be our last Halloween episode before spooky season's over. So yeah.
Cool. Well, those
if anybody wants to watch the Dayblack short film, you can watch it at dayblackcomic.com
and get on that. Yeah.
A little Halloween, you know, stuff for you.
Yeah, that's about what 20 minutes.
Yeah,
short film.
19 minutes.
Yeah. Go check it out, man. So yeah, we'll be back on Monday. Go follow Keith on socials. Back his book, and man, hope you guys all have a great weekend.
See you guys later.